Welcome, dear listener, to The Amber Mist Holds Forgotten Scents. Thank you for choosing to spend this time with us, allowing us to guide you toward a place of deep rest and gentle wonder. If you find solace and peace within this story, we invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more calming journeys like this one. Before we step onto the quiet stones of the Amber Pathway, we will begin with a short, soothing, breathing guidance to help settle your mind and relax your body. Should you wish to drift directly into the heart of the mist, you can find timestamps for each chapter conveniently located in the description below. Please, find a position that feels utterly comfortable for you now. Allow your body to feel fully supported, perhaps sinking a little deeper into your mattress or chair. Adjust your blankets, your pillow, creating a small haven of warmth and softness just for yourself. This time is yours alone, a quiet space carved out of the day, an invitation to let go and welcome the gentle quietude that awaits. Let the thought of the warm amber mist begin to soothe you, anticipating the forgotten, comforting scents it holds. Let us take a slow, calming breath together now. Inhale gently through your nose, feeling the air move easily, softly, filling your lungs without effort. And then exhale slowly through your mouth with a quiet sigh, releasing the breath completely. Good. Again, a soft inhale and a long, slow exhale, letting go of any tightness, any lingering thoughts from the day. With each breath, imagine you are breathing in the warm, honey-scented air of the Amber Pathway and breathing out any tension, any restlessness. Feel your shoulders soften, your brow smooth, your jaw unclench. Imagine the feeling of soft moss beneath you, the gentle hum of the mist vibrating ever so slightly, soothingly. If your mind wanders, as minds often do, simply notice it without judgment, like watching a leaf drift slowly down a quiet stream. Gently guide your attention back to the sensation of your breath or the sound of my voice. There is nothing else you need to do right now but rest, listen, and allow. Feel the weight of your body settling, becoming heavier, more relaxed with each passing moment. Feel the warmth spreading gently through your limbs, a comforting presence like the amber mist itself. Allow the quiet magic of the pathway to envelop you, bringing a sense of profound peace and readiness for rest. Now, let us begin our journey onto the path where the amber mist holds forgotten scents, waiting to guide you into serene and restful sleep. Chapter 1. The Threshold of Stillness. The city noise had become a physical weight, a constant thrumming pressure behind Corbin's eyes. Days spent amidst the echoing whispers and impatient shuffling of the grand library, evenings navigating the clamor of streets, it had all frayed the edges of his quiet soul. He stood now where the city abruptly ended, not with a wall, but with a strange, soft yielding of reality. Before him, indistinct and shimmering, was the entrance to the legendary Amber Pathway, less a defined archway and more a suggestion, a place where the ordinary air seemed to coalesce into a warm golden haze. Legend spoke of it as a place of deep quiet, a sanctuary woven from mist and memory. Corbin, weary down to his bones, felt a flicker of desperate hope. He carried little. A small satchel with water and a worn blanket, essentials for a journey into the unknown. The air itself felt different here, softer, holding stillness that was almost startling after the city's relentless hum. He hesitated for only a moment, the last tendrils of urban anxiety clinging to him like cobwebs. Then, taking a breath that felt like the first truly clean one in months, Corbin stepped forward. It wasn't like crossing a threshold. It was more like wading into warm, calm water. The sounds of the distant city didn't just fade, they were gently absorbed, muffled into non-existence by the embracing mist. The path beneath his feet was made of smooth gray stones, fitted together with an artistry that spoke of great age. They felt cool and solid, a comforting anchor in the ethereal surroundings. Moss, thick and velvety as emerald plush, grew in the crevices and spilled over the edges, softening the lines of the pathway. Corbin ran his fingers over its surface. It felt cool and slightly damp, releasing a faint scent of deep earth and hidden springs. The world outside the mist vanished, replaced by this intimate corridor of stone, moss, and swirling golden light. The mist itself was extraordinary. It wasn't cold or damp like ordinary fog. It felt warm, dry, and incredibly soft against his skin, like breathable cashmere. It swirled in slow, lazy eddies, sometimes thinning to reveal the indistinct shapes of massive tree trunks lining the path, their leaves unseen in the heights above, sometimes thickening until he could barely see his own feet. Yet it never felt claustrophobic. Instead, it felt protective, enclosing him in a gentle embrace that buffered him from the world he had left behind. The light within the mist was diffuse, sourceless, bathing everything in a steady, restful amber glow that was easy on the eyes. And then came the scents. They weren't constant, but drifted on unseen currents within the mist, subtle yet distinct. The first was the clean, grounding smell of damp earth after a soft rain, a scent that spoke of renewal and quiet growth. It seemed to wash over him, rinsing away the metallic tang of the city. Corbin consciously relaxed his shoulders, feeling a knot of tension he hadn't even realized he was holding begin to unravel. He took another slow step, the soft scuff of his worn leather boots on the stone, the only sound in this profound quiet. Following the scent of earth came another, fainter but warmer, the unmistakable aroma of honeycomb, rich and sweet, carrying undertones of meadow flowers and sunshine. It was a scent of simple comfort, of nature's quiet bounty. Corbin closed his eyes for a moment, just breathing it in, letting it fill him. It didn't trigger a specific memory, not yet, but it evoked a feeling, a gentle sense of peace, of something wholesome and good. He felt the muscles in his neck relax further, his head feeling lighter on his shoulders. The pathway curved gently ahead, disappearing into the luminous haze. There was no sense of urgency here, no destination demanding his arrival. The path itself, the mist, the quiet, these were the purpose. Corbin began to walk at a slower pace than he had moved in years, placing one foot carefully in front of the other, letting the silence seep into him. He noticed the intricate patterns of lichen on the stones, the way the mist clung like tiny jewels to the tips of the moss fronds. He felt himself unwinding, like a tightly coiled spring slowly releasing its tension. The constant alertness required by the city, the bracing against noise and demand began to fall away. Here there was nothing to guard against. The mist held no menace. The path offered no trip hazards. The silence held no lurking threats. It was simply calm, a deep, pervasive, and utterly welcome calm. He breathed deeply again, the air tasting clean and sweet, and continued his slow, quiet walk into the heart of the amber stillness. Chapter 2. Echoes in the Air. The path continued its gentle, meandering course, leading Corbin deeper into the heart of the amber-lit quiet. The initial sense of earth and honey ebbed, replaced by new aromas drifting delicately through the warm mist. He caught a whiff of something crisp and dry, yet full of depth, the unmistakable scent of old paper and aging leather bindings. It wasn't the dusty smell of neglect, but the comforting, familiar fragrance of well-loved books, the scent of his quiet corner in the library, the place he had always found solace, before even that became too much. A small, quiet smile touched Corbin's lips. It felt like the pathway understood, offering a scent of his own cherished refuge. He walked on, the silence broken only by the whisper, soft sound of his footsteps. The path remained consistently smooth, the mossy edges like velvet borders. After a time, another scent emerged, this one sharper, greener, the fragrance of crushed lavender leaves. It instantly transported him back decades to his grandmother's small garden, where he would hide amongst the fragrant bushes on warm summer afternoons, the buzzing of bees a gentle lullaby. It wasn't just a smell, it was a feeling, the warmth of the sun on his face, the sense of absolute safety, the drowsy peace of childhood innocence. He felt a gentle warmth spread through his chest, a comforting echo of forgotten joy. The mist seemed to thin slightly near the edge of the path, revealing glimpses of a hidden watercourse. Drawn by a faint musical trickling sound, Corbin stepped carefully off the stones onto the plush moss. He found a narrow stream, the water running clear and bright over smooth, dark pebbles. It wasn't wide or deep, just a gentle murmur of movement in the stillness. Beside the stream lay a large, rounded stone, completely covered in the same thick, deep green moss that lined the path. It looked inviting, like a purpose-made seat placed there just for him. Carefully, Corbin lowered himself onto the mossy stone. It was surprisingly comfortable, the moss yielding slightly beneath his weight, offering a cool, soft cushion. He sat there for a long while, simply listening. The trickling of the water was a soothing counterpoint to the profound silence held by the mist. It wasn't an intrusion, but rather a part of the quiet, a gentle rhythm that seemed to regulate his own breathing, slowing it down, making it deeper, more even. He watched the clear water flow over the pebbles, catching the diffused amber light in fleeting sparkles. He trailed his fingers in the cool water. It felt clean and refreshing. As he sat there, beside the murmuring stream, enveloped in the warm mist, a profound sense of release washed over him. It felt as though invisible burdens were dissolving, melting away into the golden air. The weight he constantly carried, the weight of noise, of expectation, of unspoken anxieties seemed to lift, leaving him feeling lighter, almost buoyant. He felt the tension drain from his legs and back, sinking into the supportive moss of the stone. A new scent drifted past, subtle and warm, the comforting aroma of freshly baked bread, with a hint of yeast and warmth. Another echo of childhood, perhaps, of simpler times and shared comforts. Corbin leaned back slightly, resting his hands on the moss beside him. He felt the warmth of the mist, not just on his skin, but seemingly seeping into his muscles, loosening knots he hadn't known were there. It was a gentle, pervasive warmth, like sitting near a hearth on a cool evening. He closed his eyes again, not in sleepiness, but in quiet contentment. The combination of the soft moss beneath him, the warm mist around him, the gentle sounds of the stream, and the comforting scents drifting by created a perfect cocoon of peace. He wasn't thinking about the city, or his weariness, or anything beyond this present moment of quietude. He was simply being, resting, allowing the gentle magic of the amber pathway to work its soothing balm upon his frayed spirit. The feeling of weightlessness persisted, not disconcerting, but liberating. It was as if the mist itself held a subtle buoyancy, supporting him, cradling him. He stayed there by the stream for a long time, letting the moments drift by as gently as the water over the stones, feeling the quiet seep deeper and deeper into his being, restoring him breath by slow, peaceful breath. The path could wait. For now, this stillness was everything. Chapter 3. Whispers of Light and Leaf. Feeling rested and lighter than he had in years, Corbin eventually rose from the mossy stone by the stream. He gave the trickling water a small nod of thanks, as if acknowledging a kindly host, and stepped back onto the smooth stone path. He resumed his slow, unhurried walk, feeling a renewed sense of quiet curiosity about what lay deeper within the amber haze. The pathway seemed to sense his shift in awareness, or perhaps he was simply becoming more attuned to its subtle wonders. He began to notice things he hadn't seen before. Along the base of the immense, indistinct tree trunks that flanked the path, patches of the same velvety moss glowed with a soft, internal light. It wasn't bright, more like the gentle phosphorescence of deep-sea creatures, a cool, greenish-white luminescence that pulsed softly, rhythmically like slow heartbeats. Watching the gentle ebb and flow of the light was mesmerizing, deeply calming. It added another layer to the mystical tranquility of the place, a silent, living light in the heart of the mist. Further along, nestled amongst clusters of broad, deep green ferns whose leaves felt like soft suede to the touch, he discovered small, bell-shaped flowers. They were a pale, almost translucent white and hung delicately from slender stems. As he walked past, focusing on the feeling of peace settling within him, he heard a faint, silvery chiming sound, like tiny bells stirred by an imperceptible breeze. He stopped, listening intently. The sound was ethereal, impossibly delicate. He took another slow breath, consciously relaxing his shoulders further, and the chiming seemed to grow a fraction clearer, sweeter. It seemed the flowers responded not to movement, but to the tranquility of the traveler. The air grew heavy with a new fragrance, replacing the earlier sense of home and hearth. This was the intoxicatingly sweet, yet delicate perfume of night-blooming jasmine. It was a scent associated with warm, quiet evenings, with stillness and introspection. It filled the amber air, wrapping around Corbin like another layer of comfort, further soothing his senses. He breathed it in deeply, feeling it calm his mind, smoothing out the last wrinkles of worry. Alongside the jasmine, another subtle element emerged, a low, gentle humming sound. It wasn't mechanical or intrusive. It felt like the air itself was vibrating, resonating with a deep, peaceful energy. It was less a sound heard with the ears and more a sensation felt within the chest, a calming vibration that seemed to align with his own slowing heartbeat. It was the background hum of the pathway's magic, the sound of profound stillness made audible. Corbin paused again, simply standing on the path, observing these gentle manifestations, the glowing moss, the chiming flowers, the pervasive scent of jasmine. The low hum, they weren't demanding attention, merely existing, contributing to the overall atmosphere of deep repose. He watched the slow, hypnotic swirling of the amber mist, noticing for the first time the subtle patterns within it, like watered silk, constantly shifting, yet always harmonious. There was an incredible sense of peace here, a feeling of being welcomed into a living sanctuary. He felt increasingly connected to this quiet, magical place. It wasn't just a path, it felt like a presence, ancient and benevolent, designed solely for rest and restoration. He ran his hand along the smooth bark of one of the massive trees, feeling its solidity, its ancient calm. The bark felt cool and slightly yielding beneath his touch. Even the unseen leaves far above seemed to rustle occasionally with a soft, sighing sound that added to the lullaby of the place. He continued walking, but his pace was even slower now, more mindful. Each step was deliberate, appreciative. He wasn't just passing through. He felt himself becoming part of the pathway's quiet rhythm. The gentle lights, sounds, and scents were no longer just observations. They felt like quiet companions on his journey inward. The weariness he had carried for so long felt distant now, replaced by a growing sense of wonder and a profound, quiet joy. The amber pathway wasn't just muffling the world, it was actively nurturing his spirit. Chapter 4. The Clearing of Quietude. The gentle curve of the path, which had seemed content to wind endlessly through the mist-shrouded trees, began to straighten. Ahead, the amber light seemed a fraction brighter, softer. Corbin walked towards it, a sense of quiet anticipation settling over him. He stepped through a final curtain of thicker mist and found himself in a small, perfectly circular clearing. It felt like the heart of the pathway, a place of ultimate sanctuary. The ground here wasn't paved with stone, but carpeted in a layer of moss so thick and soft it looked like deep green velvet. It rose and fell in gentle undulations, inviting repose. The air in the clearing was exceptionally still, and the amber mist hung heavy and warm, yet felt breathable and comforting, like being swaddled in the softest, warmest wool. The low, resonant hum he'd noticed earlier was slightly stronger here, a tangible vibration of peace that seemed to emanate from the very ground beneath his feet. Two dominant scents permeated the clearing, mingling beautifully in the warm air. The first was the unmistakable soothing aroma of chamomile tea, warm and slightly floral, a scent universally associated with calm and sleep. The second was harder to place initially, but deeply comforting, the clean, dry, cozy smell of sun-warmed wool, perhaps a favorite old blanket or a comfortable sweater. Together, they created an atmosphere of profound domestic peace, of safety and gentle rest. In the exact center of the clearing stood a natural marvel. The moss-covered roots of an ancient, unseen tree had intertwined and grown upwards, forming what looked remarkably like a large, comfortable armchair. The seat back and armrests were all fashioned from thick, living roots, cushioned by centuries of accumulated moss. Softer and more inviting than any man-made furniture, it seemed purpose-built for weary travelers, a throne of tranquility in the heart of the mist. Drawn to it irresistibly, Corbin approached the root chair. He ran his hand over the moss. It was incredibly deep and springy, cool to the touch, yet radiating a gentle warmth from within. With a soft sigh of contentment, he lowered himself into the natural seat. It cradled him perfectly. The moss compressed slightly, conforming to his shape, offering support that felt both firm and yielding. He leaned back, resting his head against the mossy backrest, and let his arms settle onto the root armrests. He felt utterly held, safe, and profoundly comfortable. He closed his eyes, letting the comforting sense of chamomile and warm wool wash over him. He focused on the feeling of the moss beneath him, the way it supported his weight so completely. He consciously directed his attention to the warmth of the amber mist, imagining it seeping deep into his muscles, loosening every fiber. He felt the last vestiges of tension dissolve from his neck and shoulders, felt his hands relax completely on the armrests, felt his legs grow heavy and comfortably settled. He tuned into the gentle hum that filled the clearing, letting the soft vibration resonate through him. It felt like a gentle massage from the inside out, soothing his nerves, calming his thoughts. His breathing became slow and deep, perfectly synchronized with the peaceful rhythm of the clearing. Thoughts still drifted through his mind, but they were like distant clouds in a vast blue sky, acknowledged, but allowed to pass without attachment. There was nothing to do, nowhere to be, just this perfect moment of rest. Corbin focused on the sensation of weight, letting his body sink fully into the embrace of the mossy chair. He felt grounded, connected to the ancient earth beneath him, yet simultaneously light, as if floating in the warm amber sea of the mist. It was a state of perfect equilibrium, of deep physical and mental relaxation. He felt the weariness not just leave him, but be replaced by a quiet, steady energy, the energy of true restoration. He remained there, nestled in the heart of the clearing's quietude, for an immeasurable time. Minutes or hours, it didn't matter. The pathway existed outside of ordinary time, offering exactly what was needed. He drifted in a state between waking and sleeping, a profound state of peace where worries ceased to exist, and the only reality was the soft moss, the warm mist, the gentle hum, and the comforting sense of ultimate repose. He was home, not in a place, but in a feeling of perfect tranquility. Chapter 5. The Scent of Returning. Slowly, gently, like waking from the deepest and most refreshing sleep, Corbin opened his eyes. The amber light of the clearing seemed to greet him softly, unchanged, yet his perception of it felt different, clearer, calmer. He sat for a moment longer in the embrace of the mossy root chair, savoring the profound sense of peace that permeated his entire being. The weariness that had driven him to the pathway felt like a distant memory, replaced by a quiet strength and a settled stillness he hadn't felt since childhood. He pushed himself up gently, the moss yielding beneath his hands. Standing in the center of the clearing, he took a slow, deep breath. The scents of chamomile and warm wool were still present, but now they felt less like external aromas and more like integral parts of his own renewed sense of comfort and well-being. He looked around the clearing, at the glowing moss patches near the edges, at the way the mist swirled in gentle patterns, feeling not like a visitor, but like someone who belonged here. The low hum continued its soothing resonance, now feeling like a familiar heartbeat, steady and reassuring. The path leading out of the clearing back the way he came was clearly visible, a welcoming corridor through the mist. There was no sense of urgency to leave, nor any compulsion to stay indefinitely. The pathway seemed to offer its peace freely, allowing the traveler to take what they needed and carry it with them. Corbin felt he had received a profound gift. He began to walk slowly back along the path, his steps light and easy. The familiar scents drifted to meet him again, night-blooming jasmine, sweet and calming. The faint metallic tang of the chiming flowers, which seemed to ring softly in acknowledgement as he passed. The crisp scent of old paper, now evoking warmth rather than escape. The grounding smell of damp earth and the sweet promise of honey. Each scent felt like a gentle guide, a familiar friend encountered on the return journey. They no longer evoked sharp pangs of memory, but rather a soft, integrated sense of his own history, accepted and at peace. The mist felt just as warm and enveloping, but now its embrace felt less like a shield and more like a fond farewell. The glowing moss pulsed its gentle light, illuminating his way without glare. The trickling stream murmured its quiet song as he passed the spot where he had rested earlier. He paused, dipping his fingers into the cool water one last time, feeling its clarity, its simple, flowing presence. He noticed the textures again, the smoothness of the stones underfoot, the yielding softness of the moss at the edges, the almost imperceptible touch of the mist against his skin. But now, his awareness was imbued with a deep sense of gratitude and tranquility. He wasn't just observing, he was fully present, carrying the peace of the clearing within him. The quiet wasn't empty, it was full of gentle sounds, soft light, comforting scents, and a profound sense of calm. As he neared the edge of the mist, where the pathway dissolved back into the ordinary world, he felt no anxiety about returning. The noise and bustle of the city still existed, but they no longer held the same power over him. He carried the amber pathway's stillness within him now, a portable sanctuary he could access in his mind whenever needed. The scents, the sounds, the feelings, they were imprinted on his soul. Stepping out of the mist felt gentle, like waking slowly. The ordinary air felt cooler. The sounds of the distant world gradually returned, but they seemed less harsh, less intrusive. Corbin turned back and looked at the shimmering boundary of the mist. It seemed to pulse softly, a silent promise that it would always be there, waiting. He carried the scent of amber and honey and moss within his senses, a lingering reminder of the peace he had found. With a final grateful nod, Corbin turned away, walking back towards the world, no longer weary, but restored, carrying the quiet heart of the amber pathway with him. The profound sense of safety and quiet contentment lingered, a warm glow within him.